Welcome, and here we are again on Martial Arts Today, and we have a special treat today. We have the opportunity to talk with Grandmaster Raymond P. Arndt of the Kingdakwan Karate Association, well known not only for the martial arts as he has promoted it worldwide, but also for his teaching skills and the growth of the Kingdakwan Karate Association itself. Sir, it is a great pleasure to have you with us on the Martial Arts Today show.
It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm going to get started right into it because, you know, our viewers, they seldom, I think most martial artists, seldom have the opportunity to talk with the leading masters, as I've had some opportunity to, and to share with them at home, with individuals such as yourself. And we don't get to know a lot of the little things regarding yourself in your life in the martial arts. You've made it your life. Let's go back to, how did you get involved? How did you get started in the martial arts?
Well, in 1954, I got in a fight in Okinawa with a little Okinawan. And at the time, I was pretty bad. At least I thought I was. I was on the Army boxing team.
Oh, jeez.
And he kind of cleaned the streets up with me. Right? And I finally found out that he knew karate, something I never heard of before. So I wound up going to his brother's school. And I was one of the 2 Americans in a class of 30 Okinawans.
Now, so you got to be friends with this young gentleman?
Oh, definitely. I was no fool.
Okay, all right. So you went to his brother's school in Okinawa, so you started training in an Okinawan style?
Yes, Wado Ryu.
All right. And the name of the master of the school?
And it's Kodaviki.
I'll be darned. All right. Well, that's very interesting, because now, from there, I take it you must have moved because you are a Taekwondo or a Korean stylist.
Well, I went to Korea, then I went to Japan, I came back to the States, and I didn't become a Taekwondoist until 1968 when I went to Korea and fought in the matches over there in Seoul. And I was, like I said, Okinawan style, Wado Ryu, and I just, I couldn't compete with them. Their feet were too much for me, and in Okinawan style, we didn't use the feet that much.
Yeah, all right. Now, I'm going to step back just a second again. You did some real traveling through. Now, this whole time, were you in the military?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So you were in the military service when you were traveling from the country to country?
Oh, yes.
All right. And because you said at the very beginning you were on the military boxing team.
Right.
So you've been a boxer.
Yes.
You're Okinawan stylist. And then, then you went into the Korean style. Right. All right. Well, then... Now, I'll ask, are there any other styles that you have trained in or studied in?
I've studied Kung Fu.
All right.
And that was under Master William Chun in New Jersey for a short period of time. He was praying mantis style.
Okay. I asked that because I knew you had studied some Chinese styles. So you have Okinawan background, Korean background, and Chinese background blended together with American boxing skills. All right, that's why you're considered formidable. What's the term?
Nice guy.
Nice guy. Nice guy. That's how it's said. Nice guy. Formidable. That's the term I wanted, because I've had people say that to me regarding your skills and the quickness at which you execute your moves. Out of all 3, I know that there's no best. There's simply different ways to do them in emphasis. And yet, in the Korean style, you really took to the feet as being relevant.
I took to the Korean style for the fact that they use their hands and their feet equally.
Right.
A 50-50 composition. Most people think of Taekwondoists as using feet only, but in our style of Kangdakwan, we use our feet as much as our hands.
All right. And that, okay, and a clarification then, a lot of Taekwondoists are probably still, what, 75% feet, but in Kangdakwan, you know, you're talking that school is a 50-50 distribution.
That is correct.
All right. Now, is that 50-50 distribution, can I contribute some of that as an influence from you, from your Okinawan heritage too?
Well, partly from me and partly from some of my Korean masters. Right?
All right.
Because my original Korean master was taught by the Japanese while he was in a POW camp in Korea.
And who was that?
That was Master Pak Chul.
All right, so Master Park Chul-hee was the original, and you trained also, matter of fact, you made it possible for him to come to the United States, Master Chun Kum Kim?
Right, that is correct. I brought him over here to the United States.
All right, and you trained with him. Matter of fact, you got to be quite close buddies in Korea, I understand.
Oh, yeah.
from some of the literature I've read. In the regards to the Korean aspects, and you became so closely affiliated socially as well, I think philosophically, with the Koreans, is there anything that stood out along that line that made karate more a part of an everyday life?
I think the mental aspect of karate was probably the most important thing, right? In karate, I've always taught my people that attitude is primary, along with the basics,
yeah,
and along with positive attitude all the way around. There's no such thing as can't, right? Master Kim used to always say, karate men can do. And that was basically his belief. He believed there was nothing he could not do.
Karate men can do. Now you say, used to say, he's passed away now.
Yes, right. He's been gone for about 5 years now.
All right. Now, at this point in time, due to a succession and the growth, you are now the master of the Kingdakwan Karate Association in the United States.
That is correct.
All right, and you're the president of the Kingdakwan Karate Association.
Right.
All right. In a leadership role like that, in the field of the martial arts, do you think that there's an added responsibility beyond what a business president might have? Is there something else you look to do as a responsibility because you're the master of an art that's a part of life?
Well, what I would like to do is to see it grow throughout the United States, get in every state. But most of all, I would like to see everybody that is involved in Kangdakwan today become a good, qualified black belt instructor to help me spread the word.
Okay. So it isn't a matter of just being the president and being the master of the style. You'd like to see everybody be able to be a success as a black belt in the style.
Definitely, definitely.
Right. Well, I clarify those things because we take those for granted. Many of us who are martial artists, we take those aspects for granted, but there are a lot of small schools and a lot of schools where you get the impression that they don't want other people in their school to become a black belt. They want to be the only one. And I think the aspect that you want that growth in everybody to be able to become and achieve and become a black belt is an important aspect. Again, back to you personally, how's your family? You're married?
Oh yes, I've been married for 32 years.
32 years? How does she feel about the martial arts?
She's been a great support. She's never got involved in it, but she has been a great support all the way through.
All right, so, and as a support, I would take it because you're involved in it 24 hours a day. She's gone a lot of places where martial arts was the only reason you were going.
Sometimes, right?
Yeah, I had a funny. She's in the studio, by the way, over here, smiling right now, laughing like, yes, isn't that the truth? Children?
I have 5 children, all of who, when they were younger, were involved in the martial arts, but as they grew older, they kind of drifted out, and I never forced them to go.
All right.
It was their decision, right?
All right, but they had enough so that they understood it, they felt comfortable with it.
They think they know it.
They think they know it. That's even better put, yes. Are there boys, girls?
I have 3 boys and 2 girls.
3 boys and 2 girls. 3 boys and 2 girls.
And 11 grandchildren.
And 11 grandchildren.
Right.
Nobody would ever know. Nobody would ever know. Because I've seen you demonstrate and do stuff, and you move like, as they say, frisky like a kitten in his first, month or so on the planet. You've got such quickness. Is there anything you do to maintain it? You talk about all these grandchildren, family. You've been here, you've been there, and yet you maintain this speed.
Nothing has told me I couldn't do it.
And that's it. So again, it's back to the mind, mental attitude.
Right.
If you believe in it, then you'll simply do it.
This is basically what I tell my students. I don't want their strength. I don't want their muscles. I want their mind.
All right. And if they give you their mind and you can lead them
right.
to a fulfillment as far as the martial arts, that's great. With the family again, in the area of the martial arts, did it play a role in helping your family stay tight? I've asked that of other people because they said it played a role in making their family closer.
I think it does in the fact that you learn a certain amount of ethics and morality in the martial arts, because when you're in the martial arts, especially once you become black belt, you're always in the eyes of the public, no matter where you go, and you have to be straight if you expect your students to be straight. And consequently, I think that had a big part to do, plus my kids were kind of scared of me.
Well, you're a firm believer that this is okay and this isn't.
That's correct.
Yeah, and I think a little of that stems from the military, possibly?
Yes.
All right, just a little bit. In regards to the military training, did the martial arts... Now, I have already implied that the boxing and the military training helped in the martial arts. Did the martial arts help you in regards to your military training?
Oh, definitely, right.
In what areas?
Well, I did teach self-defense at Fort Dix to trainees, right? And again, it comes back to the mind. It helps you do things that normally you don't think you're capable of doing.
All right.
So it's basically, like I've always told everybody, including Master Lawler, right, that karate is 90% mental. It's only 10% physical. Of course, when you first start,
it seems to be almost all
right,
physical.
It's 100% physical,
yes,
until you get the body tuned, and then once you get the body tuned, then we work on the mind.
I see. Now, one of the notes that I was going over earlier, I had some information regarding your past, and it said you were on the Presidential Bomb Squad?
That's correct, right.
Did it play a role? How long did you do that?
1962. 1962. For
a couple of years.
Until I retired in '78.
Oh, so you did that for a long time.
Right.
That's not the easiest. That could be a emotional straining kind of occupation. I would take it that the martial arts played a role in assisting there.
Well, a positive attitude, again, you can do anything that you really believe in.
All right. That's a long time to be able to be working in the area of dismantling bombs,
Correct.
disarming bombs.
I got all 5 of them in each hand.
All 5 fingers, okay. All right, well then we got them all right.
Right.
We got it right. In regards to the martial arts, we talked just a minute about King Duc Wan, and I know for the Northeast Association in the United States, Master Robert Lawler is the master instructor overseeing the programs under you for King Duc Wan. Is there any area, now we're talking, you have a school, and I know you promote teaching, you promote the arts. Is there an area of the martial arts, katas, forms, self-defense, sparring, weapons, that you like yourself, that you personally feel comfortable with?
Well, I feel very comfortable in self-defense, and I like forms also. Self-defense is what we teach for the street, right? We're not a tournament organization. We're orientated towards the street.
All right.
And forms, in doing a form, you can tell more about yourself than just about any other aspect of the martial arts.
Interesting, interesting. Well, while we're on that topic, we're going to take a minute, because we've got some footage over here on the monitor to my right of you doing a teaching seminar and some footage regarding some katas. Let's take just a minute and watch some of it, and then we'll get back and chat about it. Here, Grandmaster Ray Menard, working with over 100 King Duc Wan students. In the far part of the room, whole line of black belt instructors in this organization and brown belt assistant instructors. Master Arndt's emphasis here in the details of the kata, sharing his points, his philosophy as he worked with these students. Even for the short period of time the students had with Grandmaster Ray Menard, it was obvious that they appreciated it and that they learned from it. For this organization, Master Arndt's mere presence stimulates that enthusiasm and heightens the drive to be the best you could possibly be in the field of the martial arts. On a later occasion, Grandmaster Ray Menard was working in a teaching seminar. Took some time with us to demonstrate aspects of kata performing for us. Here we have an opportunity to see one of the things that Grandmaster Ray Menard of the King Duc Wan Karate Association really takes great pride in, and that is not only performing or demonstrating the kata, but motion study with intensity, with the full visual mental concept of what is being done in the form.
And from that, there was that teaching seminar that day, and it was an instructional program on self-defense, basic self-defense of the martial arts and also street techniques. Here, Mr. Kenneth Sheen of the Watertown area was assisting Grandmaster Raymond Art, and roughly 35 to 40 instructors were participating and looking on in this teaching seminar.
Okay, an overhand technique. The man comes at me running.
Techniques, basic philosophy being demonstrated at this time was that the oncoming attacker can be best handled by a move in, rather than moving back and giving them room to readjust their attack, compensate for the distance again. To move in is to close that space that much faster and give you that edge in defense. We watched through the seminar as Master Art demonstrated this immediate response technique to defense. Immediate block, counter, and neutralization of the attacker.
Very simple. I control him completely.
His years of experience make the techniques look so simple, so obvious, and yet, as martial artists, I'm sure that are watching all realize the complexity is eased only by constant repetition and practice.
You can stop at this point, or you can really stand up.
Other individuals assisting in this demonstration was Mr. Frank Palumbo, a very enlightening program for all that were there.
Fight! Okay, that's it right there. Oh.
Holy cow! All right, let's take the first part first, as it says, or the simple way of doing it, and that is the teaching seminar informs. You were in a room with roughly 100 students. Now, those were students working in katas. Now, you were going over Palge Iljang, Palge 1? Was
That's
that the
correct.
form? All right, now, when you're doing a Palge like that, a form like that, what kind of things do you look to point out to students? What are important aspects?
Well, the most important aspects are the whole form. Balance, the speed, the power, the turning ability, the correct stances, breathing, looking in the direction they're going. All these things have a direct play on the form.
All right, so I guess a better way of putting it, because the question was what's the most important, and the most important is the outcome of the form, and that's the interwoven parts of all of that.
That's correct.
And so there isn't any one part. The stances are off, the hand techniques may be off, the hand techniques are off, the shoulders may be off, the balance is off, the flow is off. So really, you have to work on every single part of it at the same time.
I've said many times you have to do a form 1,000 times before you begin to get it right.
Before you begin to get it right. All right. Now again, in the second form was Palge 2. Now I'll interject something here, because earlier when we were talking, you mentioned that King Dekwan teaches in regards to street aspects, the stuff that applies and will assist you in the street. But that must only be in the area when you're teaching self-defense, because from what I've seen, King Dekwan is a well-rounded traditional style with katas and the Epon kumites and aspects like that. So really, the self-defense street skills are in the self-defense area, because you do katas too.
Right. Well, what I meant by self-defense or street fighting is the sense that we don't train for tournaments. We're not a tournament-orientated organization.
I see.
We go to maybe 2 tournaments a year.
A year, and that's it?
That's it.
All right, so the focus really is on the traditional, learning yourself, developing, growing at your own pace and your own rate for your most fulfillment.
That's exactly right.
All right, now I see what you mean by that aspect. Then back into that second form. The second form was Palge 2. Now that had a kick in it. They escalate then and become more complicated.
Yes. Each form, as they progress from 1 through 8, becomes more difficult, yet is easier. Now this may sound like a contradiction in words, but naturally as you progress in the forms, you become more skilled.
All right.
The moves may be a little bit more complicated. They have a few more idiosyncrasies in the form for you to cope with. But they actually, they're more difficult, yet they're easier. It's the only way I can really put it.
Yeah, I see. Now many of the viewers at home, I try to ask questions that you're thinking of at home, because I understand the aspects of the pau gaze and many of the forms and katas of different styles. But the questions that I'm asked many times are these questions, and along that same line, another one is, when you're doing a form, are you thinking about the moves you're doing, or are you concentrating on something else, or what's the state of mind when the form is being executed, power and speed?
Initially, you have to concentrate on every motion in the form to learn the form. When I do a form, I do it blank. Right?
All right.
In other words, I start at a certain point and I know exactly where I should end up on the completion of the form. If I don't end up at that point, then I've done something wrong.
I see.
But in the beginning, it's concentration on each individual motion. Right?
But eventually, it should become, your mind you just fall into the form,
That's
you
correct.
start it, and next thing you know, you finished it.
Right. The form becomes part of you and you become part of the form.
All right, all right. And in effect, that confirms what a lot of people say, and that is that when you're executing the form, you really don't or aren't aware of all the people that are watching you on stage or any place or anybody else, because you're into the form totally.
That's correct.
All right. Going back again, then the form again demonstrates that the aspect of the martial arts is 90%, if not more, mental.
Definitely. I stress the forms for my students for the fact that it incorporates every aspect of the martial arts, or almost every aspect, let me clarify that. But in watching a student do the form, like I said before, I can start them in one spot, turn my back and let them do the whole form, turn back around when they're finished and see where they're standing and tell if they've done the form properly.
If they've done it right. The second, as we moved on in that teaching seminar, you executed a form. What was the name of that kata?
That was Silam.
All right.
It's an old Chinese form.
All right. We only showed a little piece of it. You did the whole form, but we only had time to really show a small part of it. What was the emphasis that you were executing during that?
Well, Silam is basically a hand technique form, right? And it has slow and fast portions to the form. It has unique movements, and it uses techniques in that form that we normally don't use in Taekwondo.
I see.
And that's why I like it. It's a little bit of a challenge.
A little bit of a challenge. And we were as we were watching the monitor and everybody at home was watching, we were chatting as we watched. You did it with a lot of breath control and commitment to each move. Do you like doing forms in a motion study power sense?
I firmly believe that the slower you do a form, the more exacting it has to be.
I've heard that, yeah. Yes, sir.
You learn more about yourself when you do the form slowly, too. Besides, your balance has to be much better. You have to be able to shift your weight properly from one stance to the other.
All right. So, yeah, doing them fast doesn't mean you're doing them right.
Right.
Yeah, because the polish is gone. It's like somebody said once to me, if you see a new car go by 70 miles an hour, you can't pick out any detail. That car may have been bright red, but it may have been a sloppy paint job, but you don't know it's 70 miles an hour. Have it go by at 2 miles an hour, and then you'll see whether it's a nice, well-done paint job and a well-done style and body. It's like a form. Let's see it at 2 miles an hour and see if it's right.
It's a good analogy.
Yeah, I understand that. And that, just so that when you're thinking about it at home, especially the young karateka that we have watched the show, yeah, forms at a nice motion study, polish a form so they bring out the highlights and the real quality. We moved on to another clip where you were doing it, you know, we had the teaching seminar in the forms, but then you were doing a instructional training program on self-defense, which is something that I can tell by that section we had that you liked. All right. Self-defense aspects, what do you look for in a successful self-defense aspect? All right, so a technique that you're going to do. What's the importance, or open-ended question?
The simplest form, or the simplest defense is the best, right? Bruce Lee put it in one word: directness.
Directness. And
I firmly believe in that. I've seen a lot of self-defense techniques where they grab and hold and everything else. As long as you hold somebody with one of your hands, you've lost your weapons.
Yes.
So block and counter immediately.
Immediately.
Right.
All right.
And use
not a lot of fancy stuff. Just
no.
Get it done.
Use the force necessary to counter your opposing force, and that's all you need.
All right.
And then walk away. Leave it.
Okay. And I'm pleased you said that. And See, I'm never sure what one of my guests is going to say. I mean, I always have a good feeling, and as I do with you and the rest of the people I've chatted with, about where your emphasis comes from. But that was really important, I think, for a lot of our martial arts artists to hear you say, because your background in all these other, in the other styles, in the military background, in your boxing, and yet here we are, we've been chatting for 15 minutes or so, and the bottom line slides right out just as smooth as silk, and that is you only meet the force with the necessary force, and then you walk away. See, we take that for granted. A lot of us martial artists take it for granted. For a lot of the people who watch the show who have nothing to do with the martial arts or aren't involved in it yet, I constantly try to remind them that it's a self-defense and it's a better feeling about yourself and it helps you in your daily work. It's not an aggressive, bully, kick, punch, take advantage of other people. The bottom line is, when the danger is neutralized, you walk away.
That's right.
I'm really glad you said that. In regards to some of the self-defense moves that you did, is there any particular, you say you don't grab because you tie up one of your hands. Are there striking areas that you feel are more successful? In that one, you blocked, you went to the throat, and then you went to the knee.
Right.
And then you neutralized him. He was down, so there wasn't anything you could do. Are those areas that you emphasize, or is there a whole multitude of areas that you feel comfortable with?
The primary areas in self-defense, I feel, are normally from the knee, the groin, the solar plexus, and the neck.
All right.
No muscles can be built in these particular areas. So consequently, they're very vulnerable to any strike or kick.
All right.
And you have to use caution and discretion when you're using them.
All right. Discretion. You have to be morally justified.
Right.
Is
That
the
is
term
correct.
I think is said a lot. That's good. In self-defense, now you were teaching black belts there. When you, in that teaching seminar, you were not only teaching them techniques, but from what I understand from my notes, you were teaching them how to teach that to other people. Now, that brings me to another thing. I know that you have a manuscript out for black belt instructors in your association, and the manuscript is for instructors in methods and procedures and processes for teaching and carrying on King Duc Wan, its style and its heritage. Are there any one or two areas that you would emphasize regarding a responsibility for a classroom instructor?
Well, the one I always told Master Lawler, and I tell a lot of other people, is that you can delegate authority, but you can never delegate responsibility. And like Harry Truman said, the buck stops here.
Yes, sir.
The primary thing is that you're there to help the student. Give him knowledge that you have and allow him to gain it and pass it on eventually.
All right, all right. Now I'm going to clarify, you use the term him. You have as many women in King Duc Wan as you do men.
Oh, definitely.
So him is almost like the generic term for the student.
It's like some foreign languages have no nude agenda, right?
Okay.
So we use him as
all right.
him or her.
I do that just to make sure everybody knows, because sometimes they. All right. Now, in regards to instructors, again, their responsibility is to be the well for the water, so that that person can drink as much as they possibly can to become as much.
But they must fill up that well again in the future.
All right. So the students drink from the well that the instructor provides, but they must complete the circle.
Right. Put the knowledge back in to give to somebody else.
All right. So that completes the circle.
Right.
When we talk about in the martial arts, the circle, the knowledge going out and coming back and going out again.
Right.
All right. Very interesting. That philosophy makes sense, and I think it's a thread of philosophy found in many, many, many of the traditional schools. We refer to the traditional schools many times almost, almost in parallel with the schools that have been around for a long time too, because the philosophies have sustained them. In regards to King Duc Wan, I know your title, Grand Master Raymond P. Arndt, Master Robert Lawler being the master instructor for the Northeast. I understand that it's growing, with many black belts, and under a traditional structure where a black belt isn't a matter of a year, 2 years. You're looking at a 5 to 7 year period of time. You're looking at hard training and dedication in the giving of themselves, and yet with those old and traditional standards, you now have, 30, 40 black belt instructors and more coming in a large organization. Do you think that growth is going to just be able to continue? Do you think there'll be a leveling off period?
I don't think that there'll ever be a leveling off period as long as people want knowledge and we have the instructors to give that knowledge.
All right. So it's just, so you really believe it's just going to keep growing and growing and growing?
Oh, definitely.
I love it. I love it. All right. Now, along one other aspect, I know it's something that you admire a great deal, and that is people learning and striving to learn. All right. So in regards to the martial arts, for our young boys and girls, I'm going to just add one little thing. And is going to school important during it?
The primary thing in all our schools is education. That means your academic education, not the martial arts. Academics come first, then your martial arts.
All right.
And always have a positive attitude.
All right. Now, we're talking in regards to the young ladies and gentlemen in the, in our viewing audience. Is there anything in particular that you'd like to share with them that you find really, really important that you'd like to share with all of our young karateka?
That's hard. There's a lot of things I'd like to share, and actually we don't have the time, right? But I would say again, stay in school, learn in school, and you'll learn in karate. And always remember one thing, you'll be able to do anything you really want to do. It's all up to you, right? If you want to do something, you'll accomplish it.
All right. All right. So really then it comes back again to the power of the mind.
That's right.
Using your mind. That's fantastic, and that's good. In so many respects, especially the reinforcement, I think, of the public education or the schooling, whether it be in a Catholic school or parochial school, public school, to go to school and learn as much as you can.
Definitely.
Stimulate the mind, because that helps in the martial arts, and then when you get in the martial arts, that helps you in your studies.
That's right.
All right, I'll tie it all in together, because I want to make sure they do it too. That's terrific. It's been a real pleasure, sir. I think, your efforts to break new paths and to set the example 24 hours a day in the martial arts for the people who know you personally and have watched you in the martial arts for so many years is very much appreciated. And I personally, on behalf of my viewers and all the people here in the studio, would like to thank you for being with us on the Martial Arts Today show and wish you the best and most promising future.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure being here.
Yes, sir. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. We've had the opportunity to talk with Grandmaster Raymond P. Yarn of the King Dakwon Karate Association. What we're going to do right now is we're going to go to a short break, and then we're going to be back with more on Martial Arts Today.
The Martial Arts Today show aired on NBC for 12 years, reaching over 3 million homes in the United States and Canada. Its host, Grandmaster Clifford C. Crandall Jr., traveled to 22 countries covering diverse martial arts styles and events. Grandmaster Crandall is the founder of the American Martial Arts Institute and American Eagle Style. He has made numerous contributions to the field of martial arts, producing instructional videos, books, including the American Eagle Style textbook and the American Eagle Style Self-Defense DVD. These resources share the American Eagle Style with the world and help its instructors teach its students. In addition to traveling around the world as host of the Martial Arts Today show, Grandmaster Crandall has led several martial arts teams on international cultural exchange tours. In 1994, he coached and led the first American martial arts team to perform by government invitation for the People's Republic of China. The team carried letters from President Clinton, Vice President Gore, and numerous senators and congressmen. The presidential letter was read before each performance. A 30-minute documentary was produced to chronicle the trip and its historic significance. He led similar trips to Russia, Japan, Australia, Italy, and the Caribbean. Grandmaster Crandall has appeared in many martial arts magazines promoting safety and awareness for people of all ages and abilities. He has promoted child safety internationally, is the Central New York spokesperson for McDonald's Corporation, and set a Guinness Book World Record for breaking boards while skydiving as a publicity effort for the need for child safety education. Grandmaster Crandall is also the headmaster of Takenouchi Hanganru Matsuno Crandall, a 300-year-old Iaido style. Grandmaster Crandall's certified position and title were bestowed to him by his late instructor, Headmaster Tsuneyoshi Matsuno, during a traditional ceremony in Japan in June of 2002. Grandmaster Crandall has documented these styles in both textbook and DVD format. Prior to becoming a full-time professional martial artist, Grandmaster Crandall was a superintendent of schools, a high school principal, an elementary school principal, and a classroom teacher in the state of New York. To learn more about Grandmaster Crandall and the American Martial Arts Institute, visit www.amai-eaglestyle.com.